Welcome to episode 110 of Beer with Strangers. I'm your host, Tony Russo, and I'm joined this week, as I'm joined each week by...
Doug Griffith, Extreme Brewing Supplies. How you doing today, Tony?
We're a little behind. If you guys
Yeah.
may or may not have noticed, we had a little trouble with our Facebook Live feed, so we're back over here at Google Plus or
Technical
YouTube.
problems.
Yeah, it's my thing. Technical problems are kind of my thing.
And let me start with the normal weather report we do on our podcast. Today is very, very, very rainy. And overnight, I think we had probably 4 or 5, possibly even 6 inches of rain. So it's a very wet day. Still having some rain out there. Looks like the window is still wet, and it's going to continue for the rest of the day, it looks like.
And on the upside, it wasn't snow.
Well, that's true. It would have been. We wouldn't be here for snow.
It was kind of brutal last night, specifically because we got so much rain that like I was up all night with the dogs and things like that because the dog wasn't
Well, they were uncomfortable with all the noise outside.
It was awful. And what was even more difficult is, the saving grace rather was that they delayed school, so everybody got to sleep in a little bit.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, well,
I saw one school district was closed.
Pocomoke, not Pocomoke, Princess Anne at UMES. The college was closed.
Huh.
My daughter said that there were kids walking in waist deep water.
Wow.
And because of and what they've done is they've built up Route 13 so much, and they just take the dirt away.
Oh.
so everything that hits the highway rolls down, that in that
Yeah.
corridor in Salisbury, everything that hits that, because they've just redone it, and everything that hits the highway just...
Sean's not here today. His car and his wife's car got flooded this morning,
Wow.
so he couldn't get here.
Now, but his car's not dead. It's just, or I guess
Well,
find out tomorrow.
I'll show you the pictures. It's partially. It's probably 6-8 inches up the door.
Wow.
So that's not good.
No.
So that means inside the car is all wet.
Should have got a Volkswagen. They're airtight. My mother actually used to have a nightmare where the car drove off the bridge because we had a Volkswagen, and she always used to have nightmares about floating on top of the Volkswagen down the river.
I remember 40 years ago having a Beetle, one of the traditional Beetles, and you had to open the window in order to close the door right, because every time you try to close the door, it just wouldn't close. You open the window, it closed right away.
Yeah, it was an airtight vehicle.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a rumor or if they really would float, but that was always something my mother said that she was
they're
afraid
better
of.
than most vehicles
For floating.
Yeah,
they
for
make
floating.
better boats.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun stuff this week. First of all, do we have classes? You had a class this? No, we had.
No, didn't have anything last week. We were at the Trap Pond Partners event at Trap Pond all afternoon, and we've got a beer class scheduled for this week from 2 to 4.
Oh, very cool.
If you know anybody who wants to learn to brew, send them our way.
And that is Saturday, October 1st.
Yes.
Oh, very cool. Oh, actually, we were out there. Kelly and I were out there taking pictures, and when I was putting the show together for this morning, I couldn't remember how long ago it was.
Well, you've been doing so many events. I mean,
I really thought I thought we already talked about it on this show last week. So let's talk about that real quick then. So there were 600, 700 people?
Somewhere over 600 plus people. And there were at least double the vendors that they had last year. When they started out last year, about 2 to 25 people and maybe, I don't know, a dozen or so vendors. And this year, I'd say they had probably 30 to 40 vendors. A lot of people were out, including local breweries, and we had 3 distillers there, including Dogfish, Baker Distilling, and Beach Time.
I don't know Beach Time.
That's Great Christmas. It's down in Lewis.
I reached out to the Baker Distilling, and hopefully we'll get a story out on them in the next couple of weeks, because I was here when they did the distilling talk here at Extreme, and that was fun. And now that he's open and pouring whiskey, or at least you can buy his whiskey, I felt like
he's in many places now here in Southern Delaware.
So we'd like to get him, get him a little bit of extra publicity if we can.
I saw him Sunday. He said he had more turnout than what he ever anticipated.
That's fantastic. I'm glad. I'm glad he's doing well. It'll be really good to see, the craft industries really kind of take hold. I think it has to do with the land is a little bit less expensive, and people, you can get the ingredients with some regularity. And although the regulations are backwards, I guess, in many cases. At least increasingly, now that they see that there's money in it, the towns are more willing to work with the brewers and the distillers and things like that. I know that he had parking problems with his parking.
Well, originally I think he was trying an open place that we're going to allow visitation. Now he's in at his home location on his own property, but he can't have any visitation there until he's agreed with, or the county agreed with the permit, provided he did have no visitation.
Right.
Which I think is great for him to start with.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want
to. He can have a place once he gets established that people can come and sample.
Yeah, sample stuff. I remember when Revelation was supposed to first open, they were ready to go, and when they went for their final approval, they said, "Well, you have to pave the driveway," which they hadn't planned on doing. Like, it had been approved, and they're like, "Oh, well, why isn't the driveway paved?" And he's like, "Well, you didn't say." The plans never called for a paved driveway. They're like, well, you can't mark a handicapped parking spot if you don't have a paved driveway. And so they made him pave the driveway. It took him an extra, I think, 6 weeks to open over that. So,
and that's not a small expense to be overlooked.
Yeah, and especially when you have partners, you keep coming back to them like, oh, I need, and that's where it gets irritating. It's not so much even the money as much as I need $3,000, I need $1,000, and you start
and
to
the
feel
delays and no income.
But they've been doing very, very well. We had them at the Shorecraft Beer Festival at the beer garden. I couldn't think of the word for the life of me.
Harley Davidson.
At Harley Davidson, and they had some really great beer, so they're doing well over there, and I'm glad for them. I had a blast at that event, and the next event is the Good Beer Festival.
Yep, that's week and a half away, the 8th and 9th of October. New month coming.
Right, yeah, it'll be October in a couple days, and one of the things that I've been looking forward to is I hope it doesn't rain during the Good Beer Festival, but I do hope it rains the rest of the month, because I want the sky all dried out for the time when ours comes in at the end of September. That's the October, the October 29th. In conjunction with the Seaside Running Festival, we're already selling lots and lots of tickets.
Oh, good.
People are excited for this.
So Sunset Park going to be big enough this year?
It is. One of the things we've done is we've taken the food trucks out, and the city, which we didn't think they would do it, and we were very happy that they did, is allowing the food trucks on the street.
Oh, wow. So they park along the street and make
extending the permit out into the street so people can go and get food. So we'll have
that take a lot of space out.
And I think that we're gonna have the beer. If you've ever been to Sunset Park, we had the stage area kind of clear. I think we're gonna use a little bit more of that. I don't think we may not have as much space between the stage and the breweries as we have, because we're gonna have more breweries. Actually, I just spoke with Ronnie Price from Blue Whirl, and they're interested in coming. So we hope to have them. They're available in Maryland now.
And you'll find Extreme Brewing there.
Pouring.
We'll be able to pour too.
Very exciting. And have you decided yet? Do you know what you're doing?
No, not yet.
That's fine.
we're working on Good Beer Fest right now.
Right. So. And you were doing the Midnight Pumpkin? No.
Breakfast Porter. We made last Saturday at the beer event Trap Pond. We made that as a demonstration. So it's fermenting now, and Sean's made turkey drool, so it's in the fermenter now. So we're gonna get something else, a few more other beers, and some ciders made here shortly.
And actually, I want to skip down to the end, because I thought of him when I was doing the story about the hops, hop shortage.
Yeah.
Because when they say there's a hop shortage, according to that story, that's not really what they mean. What they mean is that there's a gap between what the farmers are willing to grow and what the brewers want to buy, which is the Citra hops. And I was thinking, because he does his CPA, his Citra Pale Ale.
It's always challenging to make sure we get the hops. Fortunately, over the last 5 years, it's not been bad. About 6 years ago, there was a major shortage, and it was partially, I think, due to the fact that a lot of the farmers pulled out their hop vines and started doing corn, because corn was the big thing at the time. And they were paid a premium for a bushel of corn. So they said, well, we can make more corn this way than we can with hops, because hops take at least 2, if not 3 years to come into full production. So.
And this gave me the impression that smaller breweries that were trying to get into the game were having trouble getting new
hops. Yeah, we've not had problems getting traditional hops such as Cascade and Hallertauer. For the most part, we've been able to get those hops, but some of the more specialty things is a challenge when we had the hop shortage. We never ran out of hops. We were just out of different varieties.
Right, and that's the thing for me. What I think is exciting about it is then we won't have too many more. Maybe we'll have to go in a different direction than having everyone doing some sort of Citra IPA.
Yeah. And I think actually the last hop shortage forced people to try different things, which may have brought the Citra thing to on even more. Yeah. And people found out they liked some of the different hops that they weren't using and wanted to use more of it.
That's great. So, and that would be the thing, to have more people be able to just more. I think it'll give us more variety rather than less. And, brewers like to solve problems. They're not going to just throw up their hands and say, okay, well, I guess I'm not making beer anymore because I can't get this.
Which just won't be the beer they may always have had.
Right. They might have to make different things. So, and I think the established breweries like Mike Pronsky was nice enough to comment on it, and he's one of the brewers Evo, and he's like, it has to do with the size of the brewery and the size of the contract, and I think that places like Evo and Dogfish Head, they've got these long-standing kind of
right.
You don't want to make them go looking for another hop purveyor if you can help it.
It's the new guys who are going to have the biggest problems.
Yeah, who are going to have trouble with it.
But they'll be able to make beer. It's just not maybe what they want right now.
Good. More porters and stouts.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. So today, possibly as we speak, possibly just before we spoke, the shareholders from Miller and Bud were voting on the merger, which has been approved by every trade commission on the planet. Had to independently approve this, and now all the shareholders are voting to approve the merger. It was held up by the Brexit because people said that they didn't want to vote on the merger because the pound wasn't worth as much. But now that that's kind of settled out, they are ready to. Sorry, kids. They're ready to do the deal. So that'll be done today or the next day. But what I thought was interesting, more than the merger, which we've been talking about for 6 months now, I guess maybe a year, is this idea that Miller is already taking shots at Bud in a new kind of branding war.
It is amazing to me that they're going to be the same company and they're still snugging at each other. So
Miller's starting to talk about how Bud doesn't taste as good as Miller, and as I said in my blog, I think it's funny, it's like to dig up old Bob Euchre and have them, taste great, less filling.
But I mean, they're going to be look at it as two pockets. They're going to take it out of one pocket, put in the other pocket. I don't think they're going to gain any more market share overall. They're losing market share to the craft breweries who are increasing their sales, and just the number of increase of breweries puts more competition in the market also. And as another thing you were talking about is the overall sales of beer is down, but the revenue is up. So most of that's going to the craft breweries, I think, because they're demanding more for their products, and rightfully so. They've got more ingredients in their products. I know in the past that most of the Bud Miller Coors, I think they spend as much on packaging, so fancy packaging,
possibly more.
More for that than what you actually do for the product. So with the craft beer is just the opposite. I think they're paying more for the ingredients, and yes, they do have some fancy packaging, but they're not paying as much for that as they are for the actual ingredients.
And that's one of the exciting things. There was another article in Forbes that came out that said, that beer was on the decline, and what the article meant to say was that restaurants and bars have sold less volume in beer over the last year. But in a post last week that I didn't put it up to talk about, but the tax numbers came in, and the tax numbers are pretty flat. So beer is people are spending as much money on beer,
more if you're getting the craft beer,
or more if they're getting the craft beer. But the national trend is just that people are drinking less beer, they're not buying less, they're not spending less on beer, which is a fine distinction, because yes, I was, when I was buying a 30 pack a week, I was spending $11 a week in beer. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
When I was buying a 30 pack, I was spending $11 a week in beer, but I was buying, whatever 30 times 12 is, I was buying all that. Now I spend $60 a week on beer, and I buy,
two cases.
Two cases,
two
right?
6-packs or something.
Yeah. So I see it as positive news more than as negative news, and it's always weird to see it kind of spun as negative news, because I think people are a little nervous. Like, you think in the 1980s, when you're like, the airplanes, the airline companies, they'll be here forever, and then General Motors, it'll be here forever, and this now people are looking around at the consolidation with beer and saying, you know what, well, maybe we need to rethink the way we make all sorts of things.
Going on that, you talk about, it's really getting off this topic, but talking about GM,
right?
With the self-driving cars, somebody was proposing that in the future we won't have individual cars. You just call the car up and it comes pick you up and take you wherever you want.
Right.
So the ownership of cars may be a thing of the past.
I would have no problem with that. I hate driving. I hate having to drive. I would love to bike to more places. I feel like I should move to a downtown, but I'm not going to move to a downtown, so I'm going to always have a car. But that would be cool. The Zip cars, they have that now in the cities. They have Zip cars where you can rent a car by the hour, and you just walk up to the car and you swipe your credit card and you get in, and then you get out and leave the car there. Leave it at one of the other stations. So
and the next person comes along, does the same thing.
Yeah, so. And my brother does that. My brother doesn't have a car. He probably spends less in Zip cars over the course of a year. I mean, he lives in Philadelphia, so he walks, but he spends less in Zip cars in the year than I probably spend in gasoline. So
if you need to get there quicker or have some place where it's not on the bus line or the the mass transit, then
or if you go out of town, he's rented Zip cars to go to my mother's house and then come back. So it's that's well done. I'm sorry for losing eye contact with you folks, but I shouldn't have started off out of line, because now I forgot what we've talked about and what we haven't.
We were just talking about the Bud Miller Coors Bud.
Well, let's sing happy. Well, we don't have to really sing it, but happy anniversary to our friends at Third Wave.
Yes.
They're celebrating their 4th anniversary.
4 wonderful years.
And I'm going to start a rumor here, because I didn't want to put it in print, but I'll put it on video, right? They're giving out 2 beer. They're having 2 special releases. One is a watermelon and the other one is a peach. Now, if I recall properly from both Eastern Shore Beer and Delaware Beer, when they first started, they made a trade with a farmer, and the farmer took the grain and gave them produce, or was supposed to give them stuff, and they brought them watermelon the first time, and it was more watermelon than they had any idea what to do with. So they did one watermelon beer, which I've never liked watermelon beer. That was the first of a long line of watermelon beers that I totally didn't like. But I believe that they put the rest of it in this barrel-aged beer, because this is 4 years old. So they have the
sour.
Yeah, it's a sour watermelon. It's 4 years old, and then they have a sour peach. That's 3. So I'm looking forward. I'll taste the watermelon. I might buy the peach, but I'm
with you. I like peach better than watermelon.
Yeah, so. It's just I've never. I remember it's this same brother. I was in Philadelphia with him, and we were at a bar, and I just saw Hell or High Water, and it was from 21st Amendment Brewing. I'm like, oh, I'll try that. And he was watching me like with a quizzical face. And when he saw me drink it and make this, he's like, what were you thinking? Because it was called Hell or High Watermelon, but I didn't see the melon. It was wrapped around. It was wrapped around the other side of the handle. So I mean, I choked it down, but it wasn't. Still, to this day, remains not my favorite beer. But they have a bunch of stuff going on over there. They've got bands. They've got rain, so it'll be nice and packed. I'm gonna go there. I think I'm gonna go tomorrow night.
And good food from Nick.
Good food from Nick. But I forgot it was their anniversary weekend, and I already invited my wife. And I feel like it's been a long week. I feel like I want to tie one on and walk home on Friday. What do you think? And she's like, yes, absolutely. That's what we should do. So we'll be.
So get there early, get your seat.
Yeah. But yeah, go and they have the 2 special releases. They've got bands, they've got food, they've got giveaways and discounts on all their Third Wave gear and whatever. And if you live in the area, or if you like to they have a special every Sunday where if you're wearing Third Wave gear, you get like $3 off a growler fill. So whenever I'm there on a Sunday, it's cool to see everybody coming in like all their football gear with like a Third Wave hat on, or sticking a sticker on their shirt and getting their $3 off the growler. But they've done a great job, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of years. They're going to be getting a canning line. Yeah. And they're going to be expanding the outside, so there'll be more seating, so that if there is rain, it's not a big deal. They can still accommodate a couple dozen
more people. Yeah.
I was going to say a couple of hundred people, but probably not ever a couple hundred people on that property. So what else we have next? So guys, I thought that I would be more efficient and try to write the stories down in order. We didn't get to the homebrew part.
Oh, that was the first one, wasn't it?
That was what we were supposed to do first. So let's talk about homebrewing.
Homebrewing is a wonderful thing. And I'm not sure where was that story. It said Rome, but what?
I think it was Rome, New York.
Okay.
I think it was upstate New York. But I shared a story this week that was about I often talk about reasons people should get into homebrewing. But one of the things that this story was about was one of the pluses of being a home brewer already. So they were talking about being able to make kind of whatever beer you want. And
you can make something that you really like, or something that's unusual that you can't get, or it's hard to get, or you can't get at all. So right. I think the guy was a neurologist, and I think it's the way he released his creative self.
Right. To kind of just get out there and just mess around and with different flavors. And
he admits that some of his beer creations were not the best. And some of them may have had to go in the trash can, but there are other ones which he really liked and savored.
Well, I actually, when people talk to me about that, I like to use Dogfish as an example. I'm like, every now and again, Dogfish puts out an absolutely undrinkable beer. Yeah. But you have to if you're going to do anything interesting or creative, you're not going to be right all the time. If you're only going to make Pilsners, you're going to be right almost all the time. Right. But if you're going to take chances, like, there's some people that love the Scrapple beer. Some people hate the Scrapple beer. Some people like the
But they put out so many different beers that you're going to find something you like.
Something you like. So one of the things that I thought was cool is, and this is why I wanted to talk about it here, is Doug's just started carrying the Fin City line.
Yeah, since the summer. We've got 3 of the Fin Cities, the Jack Spot Amber, the Sneaky Wheat, and the Black Fin IPA.
And so if you're local, and if you're not local, rather, Fin City is one of the local breweries. But if you are local, I was saying, like, so if I were the type of person that homebrewed every week, I would make like a habanero black IPA. Because the Fin City Blackfin, I think it's called Blackfin IPA, is one of my favorite IPAs. One of my favorite black IPAs.
And you want to heat it up some?
Yeah, right. Heat it up a little bit if you felt like. You can add some pineapple if you felt like. The options are really kind of unlimited. And for people like that are out of town, which is the other thing that kind of caught my imagination, like, you can order the kit. So if you were listening to us in Western Maryland and you like the third wave, the Fin City brand, which you can get there, but you don't have the brewing stuff for it. You can order from here. You can order a brewing kit and you can make your own Fin City and then do your own variations on it.
But you can also get Third Wave. We've got the Dawn Patrol, which is the coffee and cream stout that Jerry Franklin, who's now one of the brewers at Third Wave, when he was with us, he came up with a coffee and cream stout, and they have since renamed it as Dawn Patrol. So it's a coffee stout that has some lactose in it for the cream. But it's pretty good for the fall and winter time.
Oh yeah, it's one of my wife's favorite beers. Yeah. She has to bring herself to try new things when she goes over there because she just wants to drink the Dawn Patrol.
Well, there's nothing at all wrong. That's great. I love that beer.
It's a good beer. No, it's nothing wrong with that beer at all. And also, I guess as long as we're on it, the Dogfish Head, you can also get if you're out of the market or if you're in the market. But if you're out of town and you want to make your own Dogfish Head beers, they have a whole.
We have got many of the original ones on tap or available for brewing, and once in a while we have them on tap too.
Occasionally they're on tap, which is always fun. Did you one time you had, I think, the Indian Brown? I think you had.
Yeah, we had Indian Brown. We do 60. We do 90. The blood orange Hefeweizen was out of the book, one of the original recipes that he was making when he opened the restaurant. So we've got quite a few of his that we have in stock. And if you we've got recipes for many other ones that came out of the book too that we don't typically make for in stock recipes, but we can always put it together for you.
Right. And we'll do this at the end, but we can do it now. You can order those all online at extremebrewing.com.
Yes.
Okay, so last but not least, or maybe last but not least, we have a couple more stories, but I wanted to talk about the day drinking story because I like to day drink. There was a blogger this week who had written a story about how day drinking was dying and it was craft beer's fault. And what he said was that craft beer is kind of high alcohol and kind of expensive. And, people just didn't have the time to go out and have a beer with lunch anymore, which is partially true. I mean, if I go out to lunch, if I'm taking money out of my pocket for lunch, it's going to be for a beer with my lunch. I think if you go into a restaurant,
and something you like, not something
absolutely
totally light.
And I'm not looking to save money, but there are plenty of great beers that I go to the Globe a lot, and I'll tell you what, the Globe in Berlin has $3 craft beer happy hours.
You can't beat that.
No. So I'll go there and I'll get. I mean, their food is mid to upper range, both quality but also price. It can be so you can still spend $20, but there's nothing. If you're going to have lunch, then spend a couple dollars.
Do they have any Bud or Coors on tap?
I believe they have them in bottles. I think everything on tap is local.
Okay, that's great.
Oh yeah, no, they've been doing that for a long time. They have they actually. Fin City makes their copper ale or something like that, and they've got a house beer.
I know Burley's had a lot of stuff on tap there,
right? And it's a good place to get local beer. But the idea is that if you're going to go out to lunch, treat yourself to a beer. You can have a low
craft beer,
a craft beer,
a good beer,
a good beer. You can have a beer with a 5% alcohol beer or a 6% alcohol beer. There are plenty of them. And I mean, or a 4%. I mean, there are some lower alcohol beers. I remember that was the other thing that Fin City did at the Globe was they had two for $4.
You can't get much cheaper than that.
They did a 420 IPA, and so it was $4. It was 4.2% alcohol, and it was 2 for $4.20, and I was there for a while. But so anyway, treat yourself because it's worth it. And if you're going to bother going out to lunch, I say this about tipping. If you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to eat out, and don't not have a beer because you're afraid you're going to get loaded at lunch or because there's some sort of social aspect to it. You're a grown up and you can make grown up decisions. And if one of them is going out, then the other one can be not denying yourself a nice beer at lunchtime. And I have it a lot, and there's nothing like it. Day drinking does have this connotation of, someone like me who doesn't have a real job and who, does really, not afraid to tie one on a Tuesday afternoon.
Your job is beer, so you got to have that beer so you can write about it.
Gotta keep the brain cells for the brain cells dying from beer, so I can write about it. But anyone who goes out, if you go out, don't order an iced tea. Have yourself a beer, enjoy yourself, and let people know that you're still a functional person. You just sometimes like to have beer. There's a couple more stories that we are not going to get to for time because there are a couple more things we have to talk about in the goodbye section of the show. But I do want to recommend you take a look at. We have some beer recipes up again. We've been doing this more and more. I'm trying to stay on top of it. It just kind of spins away from me sometimes. But there were a bunch of beer recipes that I found, and I put them on the blog. You can find them.
One of my good baby back ribs.
Yeah, the short ribs
sounded good.
And bread, of course, beer bread is always a pleasure to make. And one of the lines from the story that I'll hip you to is, anything you bake, you can add stout instead of some of the liquid, and it'll improve the flavor. And I'm like, yes, of course you can. I can't believe it.
I think any recipe that calls for a dark red wine, the stouts would be appropriate for that recipe.
Right. So check them out. Let us know how you do if you want to reach out to us and tell us anything about the show. If you want to reach out to us and ask where we got our good looks, you can do that through extremebrewing.com. That's extremebrewing.com or xtremebrewing.com. You can find me at shorecraftbeer.com. We have recently redesigned the podcast site, which was just kind of thrown together but now it looks pretty cool. It looks cool enough, and that's at beerwithstrangers.com. And last but not least, you can find me socially at my name backwards. My name is Tony Russo. My name backwards is OSSURYNOT. I'm there on Twitter. I'm there on Facebook, on Instagram, and all of the. If it's social, I got it, because what other moron would spell their name backwards and think people could remember it? But that's all we have for this week. So until next week,
drink what you whoa, that was a mouth. Drink what you like and be happy.
All right, see you, folks.
So it's back to you two.